Hello everyone. So today we're looking at a discrete math problem. You have a coin is flipped 10 times, where each flip comes up either heads or tails. How many possible outcomes are there so we have four situations here. Let's start with the first one that says there are in total. How many total outcomes would be if you flipped that coin 10 times? Okay, so if you imagine like the little dashes that I put, imagine the result of each of your flips. So for example, you can have a tails here, you can have a heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, 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 tails, tails, let's say. What I'm trying to get at here is that if you look at each position, you have either a tail, or a head, or a tail. So you have two positions for each of these. And we have a rule of counting that says if you have a certain number of ways to do a certain task, and you have another certain ways to do another task, and you do them one right after the other, you can go ahead and just multiply the number of ways you did the task together to get the total number. So this would be 2 to the 10th, which would be 1,024. Okay, got that down. The next question is, again, we're gonna flip this coin, flip a coin 10 times, and there's 1,024 outcomes total. And what we're saying is, for part B, is saying how many of those 1,024 totals contain two heads? Okay, well, if you were to, again, put your places here, yeah, I can have a head here, for example, right here in the first position, then in the third, I could have one in the second, and then in the fourth, etc. You can have the head position, two head positions, anywhere from places 1 to 10. So me finding out the number of possibilities where is two heads is equal to me asking how many, in what places will the heads come up, okay? And what you're choosing is you're choosing 2 places out of 10 possible, okay? So the way we're gonna answer that question is with a combination, which is C, 10, choose 2, okay? Order does not matter here, because, yeah, I'm only looking for when 2 heads come up. So position, the first position or the 8th position, I don't need to, sorry, I made those numbers up. Let's say you had the head land in the 1st and the 8th position. If it landing in the 1st and the 8th position is the same thing as me saying landing in the 8th or the 1st. So order doesn't matter here. It's just so that's why we're not using a permutation. We're using a combination here. So then the formula that we're going to use is C n choose R, which is n factorial over n minus R factorial times R factorial. So in our case, this would be 10 factorial all over 10 minus 2 is 8 factorial times 2 factorial. Now, in order to calculate this, you can certainly use your calculator, and obviously you're more than welcome to do so. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to rewrite 10 factorial as 10 times 9 times 8 factorial. And yeah, because 10 factorial would just be saying 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, that from starting from 8 down to 1, that's like saying 8 factorial. So these cancel, and you got 90 over 2 factorial, which is 45. So that's our result for that. Okay. All right. So the next question here is saying how many possible outcomes of the 1,024 that we have contain at most 3 tails. Okay. So for at most 3 tails, you're looking for the number of times you can have 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails, and 0 tails. Okay, yeah, you'd certainly possibly have 0 tails. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and calculate these out. Same idea with like as in part B in terms of figuring out where you have 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails. It's a matter of me just choosing the position here. So for that 1 tail, you have 10 places to choose 1 from. For 2 tails, you have 10, choose 2. For 3, it's 10, choose 3. Yeah, because you're choosing the positions. And for 0 tails, there's only one possibility, is when everything is a head. Okay, yeah, all heads, that can only happen one time. So yeah, that's the equivalent to saying 0 tails. Okay. All right, and then for all of these, you would use that formula that I used up there. You would come out with the following, the green one. You have 10 here, plus 45, plus 120 here, okay, and 1. So again, use that formula. And we're adding everything up this time because each of these tasks have to be done separately. You can't do them at the same time. And we have a rule about counting that says if you have a series of tasks that you can't do all together at once, then if you're asked to find the number of outcomes that you do all those tasks, you just add them together. So you would have 55, we have 176 here total. Okay. So you have 176 of those 1,024 outcomes that contain in most three tails. And finally, the same number of heads or tails. Well, if you're asking me the same number of heads or tails, that means you're trying to choose 5 heads or 5 tails. So it would come down to choosing where you would have 5 of the heads or 5 of the tails, you know, whichever. So this would come down to 10, choose 5. And this would come down to same formula, 10 factorial over 5 factorial, and then 10 minus 5 is 5 factorial. And then this would be 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 factorial over 5 factorial twice. And then you would get 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 all over 5 factorial. And yeah, you can go ahead and calculate this out. The other thing you can do is these values will always divide it into each other. And what I like to do is I like to go ahead and, for example, let's start with 10. You know, 5 goes into that, and it's 5 times 2. 9 is 3 times 3. 8 is 4 times 2. 7 stays as is, and 6 is 3 times 2. And the reason I did that was because 5 factorial is saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And each one of the factors in that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is taken up by what we have on the top. So the 5s cancel, the 4s cancel, the 3s cancel, and then the 2. And you would have 2 times 3 times 3 times 2 times 7. So this would be 36 times 7, which comes out to be 252. So you have 252 outcomes, okay? So yeah, a lot of these questions, you're asked, you know, you're doing a certain task, certain number of times, and there's a certain number of outcomes. How many possibilities are there? Well, it's a matter of choosing. A lot of the time it comes down to choosing the position where that would happen, okay? So the 2 heads, it came down to choosing where the 2 heads would appear, etc. And the 3, and the same idea with the at most 3 tails. Okay. All right. Well, I hope this helped. Thank you so much for your time.